Why is it that children are not learning the way we expect them to be?
When we have everyone making their contribution, really, we can end this crisis in our time.
Maybe we need a little bit of evidence to know what is working, maybe where.
Why do we have the challenges that we have?
The forum has been brought together to focus on foundational learning. We know that foundational learning is in a critical state across the region and indeed the continent. So it is a great pleasure to join with each of you to reflect, to dive into evidence, and to consider what lies ahead for the children across the continent.
The spirit of this meeting is that we can address the crisis of learning in our generation. And that's why we are happy to welcome the university professors and academia here from the 6 countries, to welcome civil society actors who are here and other leaders and funders. When we have everyone making their contribution, really, we can end this crisis in our time. We are going to scale up our passion and the connection with each other as the 6 countries, so that as Africa, we are able to grow our own agency and belief to confront the foundational learning crisis.
We have systems in place, and very elaborate and efficient systems. But the question, and the big question is in the room, is why do we have the challenges that we have? This conference will bring a good opportunity where education stakeholders in Africa will learn from each other and engage in a bid to reduce the learning poverty. We all know that a learner's comfort complements the learner's attention span. We need to do more. It is now my pleasure to declare this conference officially open. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Depending on how we assess children, that is what they learn. If we assess them in a way that they get the skills of critical thinking, problem solving, then we get people who are fully equipped with these 21st century skills. And in that way, we build up better learners and better people who fit in the world of work and fit in our community.
If the components of the system are there, if the processes being used to ensure that children, go to school and be able to learn, if the processes are quite scientific, why is it that children are not learning the way we expect them to be? A key objective of the early years education is that every child needs to master basic literacy, numeracy, and life skills. And in my understanding of what foundational learning is, it is not just literacy and numeracy, but also other things that are important for you to say it is foundational learning. We must read our world. If our world is unequal, those are the things that we need to be talking about. We have to decide to be disturbed by the fact that we are an unjust community, we are an unjust society, there is a lot of social injustice being meted by the simple act that there are some children who are not able to read, who are not numerate, and that we should be disturbed enough to care. That what we know should spur us with urgency to act, because we have the agency that can allow us to act.
You know, we've been talking about foundational learning for a long time. We've been talking about learners not reading at the grade level. We've been talking about learners not learning effectively. But then, what are we doing about that?
The ministry deliberately focused on establishing the specific needs of the learners with disabilities. And so in the structure of the Education Assessment and Resource Center, the focus has been conducting appropriate functional assessment that would be able to point the different practitioners into the specific areas of intervention. We have already concluded putting up a national referral center at the Kenya Institute of Special Education, but we are also working in our plans establishing regional assessment centers so that the service can be brought closer to the different counties and the different households.
We have a series of targets that we're trying to hit. So the acknowledgement that the problem exists is there, the solutions and the efforts to resolve some of those problems are found in some of the policies and the strategies that are now in place, including all the policies that are being implemented, radical inclusion, revision of curriculum, comprehensive sexuality education, a lot of policies that a country like Sierra Leone is reviewing so we can in fact address these problems in a holistic way.
Africans knows what to do. We know exactly what we are supposed to do. Maybe we need a little bit of evidence to know what is working, maybe where, and maybe use those evidence maybe to improve our practices.
Most of people would agree that there's no best or one-size-fits-all assessment. So alignment to teaching or program content, to good assessment design principle, and the right level of target learners. I learned a little bit more about TAL, which is teaching at the right level, and obviously assessment should be at the right level as well. When you talk about no children can answer any comprehension question, are you really giving them the right item to measure them? When you take on everything, on every variables on board, there are some trade-offs in your choices. So it is really about what you want to answer, what you want to measure, and how you define them.
In reference to Tanzania, private sector has been working closely to the government. Only maybe what this forum has brought is the need for government now to ensure what they put in papers come into practice.
Like when we talk about school leadership, it refers to the system that coordinates everyone who works in the school to ensure the children learn. And it has got to be learned, it has got to be supported, it has got to be funded, it has got to be coordinated. But we were just taking it as simple as that.
The Learner Guide program has a content that we intend to impart into children, but also there is a different approach on how this content must go to these children.
These are just some of the examples that we found in the study that we feel that we could actually share and scale up. We give the example of Senegal, which has textbooks aligned with curricular objectives that include visual enhancement, guidelines and instructions that are aligned with the intentions of the curriculum.
evidence we've collected from some of our monitoring visits is around the effect of CLL on those children who were previously not enrolled at school.
There is a sense of deliberateness in terms of bringing the different people together. But I also think in my observation, there is also an openness to innovation.
Head teachers, as instructional leaders, is the direction we're all trying to achieve.
And to all of you, to be bold enough to ask your bosses to do crazy things that are beyond their comfort zone, beyond their budget, but you know are going to make a difference.
Without evidence, you really don't know what works. And so that is the fundamental essence for this forum.
My experience for the last 2 days, I think, has been interesting to hear the different perspectives. Everyone says in their country the policies are in place. We need to now focus on going forward, which is to ask ourselves, how are the structures aligned to enable learning to happen?
The evidence forum has been fantastic. Various research findings have come out. The things that are coming out are always backed by data, and they're giving us different perspectives on how to improve upon foundational learning.